Hey guys, welcome back to Smoky Oak Barbecue Company. On today's show, we're going to do Jamaican jerk venison. I've never made Jamaican jerk venison. Maybe you have, or maybe you haven't either, but I'm going to show you right now how I'm going to do it. We got some bacon, we got some venison, and what I've got for venison is a neck roast, and this is actually a bone-in neck roast. And just in case it's not quite enough, I added a pack of what we call our barbecue / taco meat, which is basically just shanks and less desirable cuts of meat that we use for exactly this kind of thing. And then we've got some Jamaican jerk seasoning, and I'm going to put the ingredients for that right here. We're just going to get these packages opened and get this venison out. And we're going to open up our bacon. So the idea here is to lay out a few pieces of bacon, and then we will stack that venison within the bacon and wrap it up. We'll make somewhat of a little weave, about 3 or 4 pieces of bacon for the barbecue meat, or barbecue meat, and there on top of the bacon. Now you can see right there is a shank. I mean, that is a tough piece of meat, but once we slow smoke it, it's going to tenderize it and make it good. So we get all that kind of piled up there, and we're going to go in here with our Jamaican jerk seasoning and just give it a good sprinkle, mix it up, turn it over, get that seasoning all down in there. And I'm not going to be shy with this. I'm going to put a lot in there. I want it to be seasoned up right. Okay, then we'll just start wrapping these bacon weaves around it to close it up. And we'll take a couple of toothpicks and just kind of stir that up a little bit. Alright, so that's going to be pretty good for the barbecue roast. Now we'll take our neck roast, same thing, we'll get it seasoned up. Go in here and put a couple of pieces of bacon wrapped around that. And maybe a couple of toothpicks to hold that bacon on there. That's it. We're going to put these in the refrigerator and let them kind of just marinate in that season for a couple hours while we get the smoker up and running. Now for this cook, I use the snake method with my charcoal. And if you've never heard of or don't know what the snake method is, just do a search and you'll find a lot of information on how to set it up. But it's basically a very efficient way to do a very long, slow cook with charcoal. We're stacking the charcoal up about 2 pieces high consecutively along the outer edge of the Weber, and then we're going to light one end, and what happens is it slowly burns and ignites charcoal as it moves along and allows you to cook very low and slow for an extended period of time. We also placed a water pan right underneath where the meat would be placed on the grate to reduce some of that heat, give it a little bit more moisture, and just kind of help you maintain that low and slow cooking temperature. I put the lid back on there and I situate it so that it's on the handle on the one side, not touching the rubber, but almost, which leaves a gap on the other side, which allows just a little bit more oxygen to get in there and let that fire come up to temp just a little bit more than it would if you just closed the lid down and didn't have as much oxygen. And for this cook, we used a mixture of cherry and hickory. I think a lot of times in Jamaican they use pimento wood, but I didn't have any pimento wood, so cherry and hickory is going to have to do. We're going to go ahead and get these roasts on there. Notice I placed them right over the water pan. And when I put the lid back in place, I'm going to situate the vent so that it is over top of the meat, so it's drawing that smoke over top of the meat. So that temperature is sitting just above 200 degrees. We're just going to sit back and let that go for about 4 hours. It's looking really good. The bacon is starting to crisp up. Like I said, it's been on there for 3.5 hours, so that meat has taken on pretty much all the smoke flavor that it's going to. So it's probably time to wrap it up and go to the next phase of this operation. I placed the roast in an aluminum pan and then added some apple juice to that pan to give it a little moisture. And also to that pan, we are going to add some of our Jamaican jerk sauce that we made from scratch. And I'm going to put the ingredients right here. It's really spicy and it's really good. So we're going to add some of that to the pan as well. Thing to keep in mind, we made this yesterday and put it in the fridge all night to let those flavors just kind of marinate together. I think that's a really important part of making this jerk sauce. We'll get that jerk sauce all in there, all over that meat. We're going to cover this with some heavy-duty aluminum foil, because this is where your meat is going to fall off the bone tender as it marinates in that liquid for 2 or 3 hours. We're going to place the lid back on the grill. We're going to let that go for an additional 2 to 3 hours. We let it go for about 2.5 more hours, maintaining our temperature of 225 to 250, then carefully took it off the grill in order to not spill any of that liquid in the pan. We removed the aluminum foil and immediately the spicy aroma hit us right in the face from the steam coming out of there. The meat was fall off the bone tender. You could see the meat pulling back on the bone on the neck roast. We took it out of the pan. Time to give it a chop. It was certainly easy to chop it up. It was fall apart tender. Those extra couple hours in the liquid made all the difference on breaking that meat down. Just to give you some perspective, this is the shank that I pointed out earlier when we started. Look at that. Just falling apart. Now that's some deer barbecue with a Jamaican twist. That neck roast was fall off the bone tender. It was like you were pulling a slow smoked pork shoulder. I pulled the majority of the meat off there by hand, the bigger chunks and everything else that I could get, and I used a meat cleaver to chop it up the rest of the way. At this point in time, I'm having a very hard time restraining myself from digging in there and getting it by the fistfuls to try it. Some of our Jamaican jerk sauce that we made. Stir that in there to mix it up. It was a long process, but nothing that's worth doing is easy. And I promise you, the end product was well worth all the time that I spent working on this. That is my version of Jamaican jerk venison. I am so looking forward to this. It's very spicy. It's got a really good smoky flavor. We're going to serve it up with some fried plantains and some spicy fried cabbage. It's going to be good, man. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Please, if you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button. Drop us a like, drop us a comment, let us know what you think. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up. God bless each and every one of you, and as always, we will see you next time, Mom.